Welcome, my friends, to Live Inspired Together with John O'Leary from the floor. From the floor. Why am I recording this video today from the floor? It's a good question. Sometimes it is actually from the floor that you can look around and look up and realize what the next best step is for you to take in your life. I was reminded of this just this past week while visiting with a friend named Jimmy Choi. Jimmy Choi is an amazing guy. We'll talk about that here in a moment. But he had to stumble, and he had to trip, and he had to fall, and he had to look up from the floor to recognize which way was up. You see, Jimmy was diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's disease. Our family, as many of you know, my dad has had Parkinson's disease for almost 3 decades. Jimmy was diagnosed early on in his life, age 27, with Parkinson's disease, and he gave in. He surrendered. He gave up on life for 8 years after the diagnosis. He gained 80 pounds. He began walking with a limp first, then with a cane, and just figured his life was over. And then one day, while carrying his son down the steps, he tripped. He tumbled the entire length of the staircase, ended up on the ground, ended up still holding this infant boy named Mason, hearing the child's screams. Looking up, he saw his wife's look of horror. He saw his daughter looking down and wondered, what has happened to my daddy? And on that day, on the floor, my friends, he realized he's going to do more with his life. He's going to stop making excuses and start striving forward to make a difference in his health. He began to eat differently. He began to think differently. He started working out. He lost 1 pound, and then 2, and then 5. And then 15, that he was able to set down the cane for a while and move more naturally forward into life. He eventually lost 85 pounds, amazing. He then ran a 5K, then a 10K, then 15. He ran a marathon, then another marathon, then an ultra marathon. He becomes an American Ninja Warrior, man. This guy has done everything. It started, though, on the floor. It started by feeling the pain, hearing the cries, and recognizing I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I'm going to do my best to do better going forward in my life. In my life. He couldn't change the world. He couldn't get rid of the diagnosis, but he could take the next right step forward in his journey, my friends. Sometimes it requires us to go all the way down into the rut of life to look up and realize, I'm not going to stay down here any longer. I'm not going to stay down here. I'm not going to be a victim to my circumstances any longer. The story of Jimmy Choi is a remarkable one. So I'm going to encourage you today to do a couple things. Number one, go ahead, look below me right now. Right over there is the podcast for Jimmy Choi. Check out the podcast. You're going to fall in love with him and his heart. Secondly, read the blog post that I wrote about Jimmy. He's right below me right now. It's a story about the community that came together around this remarkable man, what they did, how they did it, and what it means for us. You're going to love the article, so check that out. And then thirdly, right over there, that's Coach Matt. He's going to share with you some evidence of when we can trip and how we can expand and grasp onto a tip to step back forward into the promise of our lives. My friends, we here at Live Inspired Together are a community of friends that are expanding our world, and in doing so, changing the world. So I want to thank you this week for being part of our community. I want to thank you for living inspired together with me. And I want to thank you for being, like me, a believer. That in spite of the hardships, in spite of sometimes being on the floor, in spite of sometimes feeling some struggles, that the headwind might be real, but the foundation is firm. You are not alone, and your best days are ahead of you.